Hi, my name is Mickey Vallee, and I'm an assistant professor of sociology at the University of Lethbridge in Canada. And I wrote a piece for Theory, Culture, and Society called The Rhythm of Echoes and Echoes of Violence.
Echo is, in a literal sense, the reflection of a sound source perceived to be its own unit, which can be heard about 1/10 or more seconds after a sound. There are natural echoes, such as those that you might hear in a cave or a cathedral when sound bounces off of a surface, like a wall. But you can also emulate echo in sound recording technology, which gives performances a thickened, though mildly uncanny kind of presence. Now, in the 1950s and the 1960s, this type of sound recording echo became widely used in popular music recordings, as well as experimental sound art, which used tape as a compositional tool. I studied one of these pieces that made explicit use of tape echo as a central compositional technique, which is Steve Reich's Come Out from 1966. And I looked in particular at the cultural politics behind the echo in this very well-known piece of music. And I studied this in the historical context of police brutality and violence as it was becoming publicly known in the 1960s. Come Out was composed for a fundraising concert to raise money for legal representation for 6 black youth who were wrongfully convicted of murder around the Harlem 1964 riot. The phrase, "come out to show them," comes from recorded testimony by Daniel Ham, one of the youth who had suffered police brutality and said that while in custody he had to open up a bruise and let some of the bruise blood to come out to show medical staff that he needed to go to the hospital. A fragment from the testimony, "Come Out to Show Them," is isolated and played on a number of tape recorders, each playing slightly slower than the next until they become out of sync with one another, until you find yourself in a swarm of echoes. And so by the time we reach about 8 minutes into the piece, it sounds more like a percussive rhythm than a repeated sentence fragment. So I found through my research that echoes operate according to 3 principles. They repeat, they return, and they renew. Sonic echoes repeat a sound, which return to the original and renew sound by thickening it and multiplying its presence. Philosophical echoes repeat something in, say, memory, which return to the subject in the form of a haunting, an unrecognizable trauma, and compel the subject to incorporate the echo into its more fractured sense of identity. Historical echoes repeat the past, they return to the present, and they renew the possibility for a transformed and better future, such that the subject matter of Come Out is returned to the current issues of police violence and may contribute towards the possibility of a renewed and better future where this pattern of violence may stop.
And so the article contributes to more of cyclical senses of history that align past, present, and future side by side. And also as a heuristic device, what the echo does is that it traces the contours of representation. It allows for like a more expanded kind of conception of empirics, but it's equally supposed to serve as a useful tool for understanding the historical groundedness of contemporary social issues. Thank you very much for letting me share my research.